Hello?
Oh,
Hey, that was a little strange.
what happened?
Opening Zoom and starting the room, and I was the only one in there. I had to use the link that I gave you guys. Just kind of odd. I think maybe they updated Zoom. Does it look different for you guys? My sign into my app looked different. Anywho, so yeah, today we're going to be breaking up here in a few moments. Not going to really know how this is going to go because I haven't done it yet. But ideally, my hope is that not only can you guys all meet and chat and look at each other's sketches, but also that I can come pop into each of yours. So yeah, we're going to see how that works. I also want to just bring up this. Yeah, so if you guys all want to get your webcams going, give you a couple minutes to get that set up. This way we're good to go when we split up. So today is the 7th. So hopefully everybody's project 1 got submitted okay. And just want to remind you guys that I've set next Wednesday for the next quiz. So again, it'll just be like an all-day thing. You guys just need to do it at some point that day. Yeah. Yep. And it looks like I didn't update this. But yeah, we'll be finishing up the exercise on Monday. Going over the rest of the tools that I was hoping to cover. In terms of the breakout groups, we're just going to be making sure that we are covering the main points, you know. Actually, maybe I'll let you guys decide. You can decide for both classes, maybe. I think, can I do a poll? That'd be slick. Poll 1. Add question. How does this work? Poll. I have not yet created any polls. Add poll. Question 1. Let's see how this is going to go. So essentially, normally how I have this set up is that, and it works the best in the classroom. You know, it's a little finicky for me to like. If I would do this the way I normally do it in the classroom, this being very kind of almost stressful, like, okay, the minute and a half is up. Let's switch over. Um, what I normally have you guys do is meet in groups and then figure out what each of you guys are doing, right? So say person A is presenting and then the other two people are asking them questions based on, um, kind of the questions of this project page, getting like a blanket understanding of that person A's project. And then once we go through and talk about each other's, we'd come up to the front of the classroom and use the computer and kind of talk about person A's concept for the rest of the class, right? So it can be a little off-putting kind of doing that because it's public speaking to some extent. But what's really interesting is that you end up learning a little bit more in terms of like how to ask proper questions, being able to like retain visual information. So it's a little bit of an interesting exercise. And then the rest of the class gets to give you a little bit more insight that you wouldn't have gotten from those like two people. So I'm gonna let you guys decide if you want to kind of follow up with the rest of the class after today, or if you want to finish exercise 2. So we can kind of do either one.
Wait, can I just see if I can clarify something for a minute? Because I'm not
Yeah.
totally understanding. So are we, like, after the groups, would we be um, presenting in front of class, like, each other's pitches? So say, like, um, Quasi, because he's on my screen right now, and I are in a group, and he pitches his to me, like, I would then pitch his to the class, or are we doing our own to the class?
Yeah, you would refrain from doing your own. You would primarily just represent your classmates.
Okay.
And so what that does is it really makes you fully understand each other's projects,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it gives a little bit of, camaraderie as well. And like you guys are working with each other, not just sitting on your computer in your room, So, and if we don't do the follow up, you guys might not get as deep as you normally would. So I don't know. I figured I'd let you guys choose. I just made this poll. Do you guys see the poll? I've never made a poll, so or like how I don't know how you would find it.
I do not see poll.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you have to like sign in online or what. Edit. I don't see how to share it. Copy link address. That can't be it. That would be funny. I don't know. If this doesn't work, then you guys can just no, that's a JavaScript paste. So that is not working. Yeah, on my screen, when I like hover, the area where you can like screen share, it gives you like buttons. On there, it has an option for me for polling. So I'm surprised you guys don't have an option for like answering the polling as well.
Is there maybe a way to like activate or start the poll in some type of way?
Well, I'm wondering if there's a link. So like on UV Learns, I believe if you sign in, there is, this is courses. I don't know. I don't even know how you guys find tools. Zoom meeting. see, I don't even know if it's on here. So why don't you guys just put in the chat what you'd prefer? Follow up the class and get some more insight on your projects, or would you rather finish the exercise early today rather than on Monday? And we have about 16 people. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pretty much everybody wants the exercise. So the one thing to also note about this, though, is that this project is way more critical on presenting your concept. So like your final drawing needs to visualize and represent like your full statement, so to speak. So as we go along, you know, you might need to, I don't know, maybe we can make a way you guys can follow up in groups outside of class, or in, I guess even later on when we have like a group work session, or sorry, individual work sessions, maybe we could do a split up real quick for like a, you know, like a mid working, I don't know what that would be called. Mid critique, mid class critique. So, okay, let's go ahead and get the chat going on. And yeah, again, just because we won't be following up, you want to get as much possible out of this as you can for each other. And just so you guys know, pretty much mostly everybody that comes into this will leave with like, it normally leaves with a vastly different concept, like that has evolved from their original based on the communication you've had with everybody. So not only are you going to be presenting the project to each other, but you could also be asking questions about your own project, right? Make sure you're having that dialogue. I'll probably give you guys about 5 minutes a piece. And I think we'll do groups of 3. That should make the cross communication a little easier to manage. Once you have too many, it might be a little hard. So yeah, you're kind of thinking about these same questions I was probing you before. Who is this for? You know, like what are you communicating? Like, why does this matter? And visual attitude is also quite an important factor that you want to like know what it is before you start. So say, oh yeah, you're wanting to protest abortion, and you could put all the nice things about, you know, pro-life, or you could put all the hateful things against, like, you know, against abortion. And so you have this like evil side more so, or not evil, but like attacking, like forefronting, like versus a more passive and eye-opening. So there's different ways to represent what it is you're doing. And that's what we also want to get out of today, is making sure everybody can understand, you know, the bare bones, like what it is you're doing. The one also thing to make sure that you're being aware of is that a lot of you might have originally sketched out images that are really evolving around like visuals rather than actual type. And that could be okay for this point, you know, you're just getting a rough outline. But as you start to work into your project, you want to really uphold that notion that you're not going to be using a ton of images, right? It's going to be primarily type. So after you get an understanding of what the projects are about, then the next natural piece of conversation should be, how are you going to, create that with type, and what are some techniques that you could suggest that you're thinking of that would be interesting in upholding that idea. And that's about it. So you guys already know too, that it has to involve some element of some political factor and some technological factor, right? That's the bare bones components. So like, what are those? Those should be evident. Does anybody have any questions before I get this going? All right. I'm going to stop the screen share. I don't know. I'm assuming you guys can screen share in your groups. So
Yes.
I'm going to just put on only one person can share at a time, and everybody can share. And then, where's my breakout rooms? Here we go. All right, so I haven't tried this yet. 17 participants. I'm one of the 17. Or no, okay, no, I'm not. Somebody else joined class. Oh, okay. I'll do, I guess I'll do 3 to 4 people. Yeah. And then I'll give you guys about 20 minutes. I'll try to come through, kind of listening on some stuff. And then I'll bring you guys back in here about 2:40, and we'll finish the exercise.
Before we break out, I just wanted to say I've got a dentist appointment at 3 that I'm gonna have to kind of get out of here a little bit early for, if that's all right.
Yeah, so then I would just go, let your group, remind your group so you can go first maybe.
All right, cool.
Okie doke. Open all rooms. I guess you guys have invites.
All right, so basically this is all I have so far. So like you can't really see, but the person right here, he's an angel. If you see the wings and shit, and then
Question: is this your Photoshop project?
yeah.
Where aren't we supposed to be going over our idea for the Illustrator project?
Oh, we're supposed to go our idea. I thought we were going. Oh. Well, oh well. Wait, so how do we share? Wait, so how do we?
Yeah, sharing like your sketches, what your idea was.
Oh, well, I don't have my sketch.
I'll get light. Oh, good to know.
I'm back.
Oh, you can see that a little bit better. So like I was gonna figure out something to do. There we go. With like the B being the road, and then include some aspect of like a crowd here that kind of is built out of type, and using that type to like kind of pick out like little sentences of like what could be like an engineering manifesto or something, and that's where most of like the political aspect would be. And then down here it's not like well integrated, but I'm envisioning it as like almost like a first person view out of the car, and then like everything in the gauges is also made up of type, so like a circular type for like one of the gauges, and then the needles coming out is like another sentence or a phrase or something like that.
So they're rallying against progress in the automotive industry, like you said, self-driving cars and electric vehicles.
A little bit. I'm not gonna like explicitly mention modern stuff, but try to just make it as obvious as it can be to be like, yeah, the setting of this is 1980s rally racing, but it's really about this or this.
Did you say who your audience is for this?
Yeah, I kind of imagined it just being kind of plastered up on a wall somewhere to anybody passing by, like in universe almost. I like
So
to
like a
like place it.
lamppost just stands
Yeah,
out.
like
Okay.
plastered like in like rows along like the side of some alley or something. I like to just like imagine it in the setting, like it's something that exists there. Um, It's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, so if you wanted to be a splashed over the side of a wall as you're walking by, you're gonna want to be not so much appealing to the eye, but it just stands out.
Mm-hmm.
So you may also have to consider where it's going to be placed.
Yeah.
What's jarring enough do you have to turn your head?
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just have a quick section. I'm not sure. Oh, question. Sorry. I'm not sure what the top bullet point of the second sketch says. Yeah, no, but I can't really read the. I know the second word is city, but I'm not sure what the first word is. Sorry. So for the second one, I'm assuming like the first one is kind of like supposed to be a logo of something, but I don't know what it what the logo would be. But for the second one, how would you include text? Oh, it's out. Okay.
Hey, yeah, and if you guys can, probably should just be using microphones because it's saves time just to be able to type or speak back and forth.
Okay, I get it. Oh, also sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I was just responding to another comment.
Hello, is there air blowing into my mic?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, thank God. All right, so addressing your question, how I'm gonna make the second picture into words, I'm just gonna like have like a bunch of like broken ruined buildings, like piece up the word Civ, but like make it all look crumbly or like, you know, on the verge of like breaking.
Uh-huh.
And now just throwing like a bunch of plants attached to it because like when humans are gone, it's the nature that takes over and everything like that.
So this is kind of like off topic, but there's like a series of artworks that are related to like post apocalypse or like post end of civilization. I forgot what the term is.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. like because like I've been recently watching videos about like, you know, oh, how we could all end and stuff like that, and then like most of it depicts like talk about topics like these or like afterwards what could happen if we're all gone and stuff like that, and I find that like to be really fascinating or interesting in a way.
Yeah, understandable.
I know. I was like, of course. But it's supposed to be like, you know, there's a man on the left and then a woman on the right, but maybe it will be a male. I don't know based on what I drew, but it's supposed to be like a smartphone's in the middle. And it's very similar to your idea with social media. And what I wanted to focus in on was the anxiety and depression rates. So like for the age group 18 to 24, it's just something I learned about in high school, but like our age group is like the levels of mental illness, specifically anxiety and depression, which I'm sure all of you know is like skyrocketed, like ridiculous amount. And there's been studies as of the past couple of years that have directly linked over phone usage and over social media usage with depression and anxiety. So it's a really, I think it's political because we have this very bipolar implementation of technology, and it's like, you know, is technology a tool or is it something that controls us? So like in the second picture, it's like a iPhone, it's like an iPhone text, like, am I a reflection of you or are you a reflection of me? Like, because our phones are like a reflection of us, but it's also like that argument of like, do we kind of become what is on our phone screens? And it's just like, it's really interesting to me to like kind of interpret that because I don't know myself. Like I kind of get lost with the whole technology thing. But and then on the second picture, it's really small font, but it's pretty much, let me see what I wrote down on that. It's a text image and I wrote in the top is like, is cell phone use detrimental to mental health? A new study from the University of Illinois finds that high engagement with mobile technology is linked to anxiety and depression in college age students, so our age group. And then the second one was kind of based off a picture I saw in Google Images where like this person kind of feels isolated from all their friends because of, you know, they're all on their phones or they're far away. And it's just kind of like that weird feeling of kind of being in like cyberspace, but you're not actually with someone. And then this third one's about like a subway, which is just like, it's kind of like a visual thing. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with text because I'm a very visual person, but now I need to start adding like some actual text to it. And then this one, I think this.
Okay.
No?
Let's give you a second.
No, that. Oh, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I forgot what's I didn't pull up the list. What else are you supposed to discuss about like when we're choosing for the work? Because I wasn't able to screenshot it in time.
What's your question?
Oh, so I wasn't able to get the screenshot of the thing, the points we're supposed to discuss, or like who the work is for, and the other stuff. I wasn't able to get that.
Oh, sure. It's just kind of some questions that were on the project page.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like it's under like this topic that says your role as a designer. who's your client, what are you communicating, kind of why are you making this,
Mm-hmm.
what is it representing,
Okay.
how, what's your visual attitude that you're creating,
Mm-hmm.
to voice that statement. Just different
Oh, okay.
topics to kind of ensure that we can accurately read through the visuals rather than reading the statement to get
Okay.
said.
Okay. Oh no, so Mr. Bernard, you turned off the screen share for the group, so we couldn't like share a screen, so you had to open the drive.
I turned off screen sharing.
Yeah, because I tried like sharing my screen and it was like, oh, um, host disabled.
Oh, I wonder if it's happening for everybody ever as I go through. Okay, well, I turned it on all now.
Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, because you last me like I was like, oh, okay, that's really weird.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. I'm going to go check in the other groups to make sure.
Okay.
Apparently she says you don't answer.
Perspective part of it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like your idea, like the idea behind this is already like very well thought out. And I really like how this one is incorporating like the words, but like also the imagery is like saying a lot too.
Okay. I'm not sure.
All that is being sucked into a computer made up of like Facebook, Microsoft, et cetera. And then skeleton is the same idea as the other ones for the skeleton and stuff. I don't know. I got kind of bored doing this.
Wait, I have a question about the face. It's a pretty interesting like idea that you're trying to incorporate into it. But I just I'm wondering like, so like the face has many different features. And like you're using like slogans. How are you gonna like, how are you gonna differentiate like between like the eye and like, like the skin of the face or like the eyebrows?
Well, you could color the different stuff different colors, and then I would patch off like sections and blocks, and so because you can do in Illustrator, you can use like we were working on the vectors, and then you write stuff along the vector. So for face, it would be like you draw out a face first in all vectors, and then you write stuff on the inside of the vectors with lettering, and then color it differently to differentiate eyes, nose, mouth, etc.
Yeah, I guess my question was like, are you gonna use like actual like features, like are you gonna use an actual eye, or are you gonna like make text to look like an eye?
Text to look like an eye, yeah. So you would draw it out first in vectors. Like I would draw out all the vectors first in the shape of a face, and then I would put like different words along those vectors to match, and then that would be the face made up of vectors.
Nodes don't.
I really like the idea with like the words making up the body, and I think it would be really dope to see how like different words from like let's say different companies making up the body of the person using different words like Coke, Windows, Apple, all those stuff.
Yeah, that one, the body one, I wasn't thinking like maybe you could extend some of that to that, but really what I was thinking is that would still be like marketing identifiers, like people who are like of a particular race or ethnicity are more likely to buy certain things, and then like just have like all these like, because you see stuff like you could see that a lot of there's like algorithms been designed that can predict whether you're gay or straight based off of like micro movements in your face within like 15 minutes of just watching you. and it's actually like got like an 85% prediction rate. It's like wildly wildly used, like successful in this predictions. So for
Oh, so sorry. Do you hear the wind in my room?
That might be coming from my side as well.
No, it's probably me because I have my window open and it's like super windy. Give me a second.
Don't change it now. It'll actually be too late. So I'm stuck in school for an extra semester, but it's fine.
How are you guys doing? Are you done with each other's?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you guys chat for a couple more minutes. There's a few groups that have like 4 people, so they're still they might have just rambled a little too long or something. So we'll give it a few more minutes and then we'll meet back.
Okay.
So this one has like the corporation guy up here, and then the big like hands surrounding like one of the creators, and it's kind of like stealing the money away from him. And then the second one I was thinking about was like it's like a person's face, and like I was thinking about putting like fair use, like making his face like out of like fair use text, and then there'd be like a cut from this knife, which is like a copyright claim, and it's like money bleeding out. It's like a corporation bleeding the creators dry.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. I like both of those. I like the first one better though. The top one. Yeah. The top one is cool.
I don't really
like
have
for the for the bottom one though, for like the you could do like a I feel like you could do a lot. Like with the whole bleeding thing, I feel like you could do like a whole like when he showed us the drip, you can do something similar to that. Like when he showed us the drip last
True. Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I don't have much like drawing ability, so what I have here is like fairly limited, and probably come more alive once I get into Illustrator.
Yeah, most definitely.
Those look pretty cool.
Thank you. I don't really have.
That's where else I really don't know.
I don't really have too much more to say about the drawings right now, so. Sure. There you go.
Alright. I think that's everybody.
Yeah, I think for everybody understand each other's points.
Yeah.
I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah. That's
what we're supposed to like. Yeah, Rose.
Yeah. For Brad, I do have a question about yours. Like I understand like the point of your piece, but based on the questions that we were supposed to be focusing on, did you have an idea of who your imaginary client might be? Like what?
Um. Yeah. I don't think. Yeah. It's only ideas, but I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Yeah. I don't.
No, I mean, if you're like torn between subjects, I mean, you said that climate change was pretty interesting. I mean,
Right.
there's like a lot you can do with that too. You know what I mean? Like, there's like news networks give like outlets to like news networks give like both sides a chance. Like scientists who know that climate change is real, and then people who don't believe climate change is real. So that kind of makes it seem like they hold this like similar weight, and
Right.
that's not true at all. Like 98% of scientists know that climate change is a thing, but it's like this like 2% of like, because they get a platform to speak out on, they're like more popular than they should be.
Yeah.
Like, people love to use the argument that the earth is always changing. Yeah, the earth always changes, but not this rapidly. Like,
Yeah.
it takes like thousands of years for it to change, and this is happening in like decades.
Right.
It's like doesn't really add up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, like he brings up some concerns that are kind of fair. Like it might be difficult to use text to represent this kind of stuff. But the sketches do look good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, I think, like, in particular, like bringing in like how to just like how to show this kind of stuff in text versus image.
Right.
Because having an image makes it, I think, in some ways easier, because you're trying to portray, because now you're mixing both text and image, so you want to portray like the same kind of stuff, but you've got a lot more leeway to work with, and that way it makes it harder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more that you could imply with both text and image working in like conjunction with each other.
Right.
Yeah, especially the idea of like being watched. Like, I feel like it would be very difficult to portray that without like using like visuals, because like, like you're being watched. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a visual thing. It's not really like a reading thing.
Right.
It's just kind of I mean, what you
know what you could do? You could take stuff from like Orwell and like other like famous like authors like that talk about scrutiny and stuff, like, or like Catch-22, and you could be like reference those things in text, or just have like big ass sections from Orwell in your piece.
Yeah.
So that like people like will immediately just, that's referenced there,
Yeah. Sense.
Yeah, but don't rely too heavily on like those kind of references, mainly because like not a lot of people like know those references. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, like incorporate it, but like I feel like don't rely on it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Mainly because people are just gonna be confused.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because I didn't know what you were talking about, so I was like, oh, okay.
No, like 19. You never read 1984, the book, like in high school or something? No.
No, I read To Kill a Mockingbird and.
No, he's got a like a long ass. It's a book. It's like I thought like they always like assign like that, or like Animal Farm in high schools. It'd be like it's about 1984 is about just guys being like the slogan on the book is Big Brother is watching you. So it's like, it's the whole idea is just like living in a surveillance state and how that can affect, your day to day.
Right.
Yeah. I've been read since I read that. Probably give it a read again.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
And then he's got there's like Fahrenheit 451. There's a lot of those like sci-fi books from like the mid-century. You could like incorporate that kind of stuff if you wanted to use that in your text. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen this episode of Black Mirror. I don't know if you even watched Black Mirror, but
oh yeah, I love Black Mirror, dude.
Yeah, there's an episode called Archangel. Like,
oh yeah,
Yeah, you could use. Wait, have you seen it, Julian?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You can definitely like incorporate like a reference to that because like that's literally an episode of what you're talking about.
Okay, dudes. Due to your popular vote, why don't we open up that file that we saved on Monday and we'll dive back in. So I believe we ended with, or on part 2, but we already kind of covered that, typing on a path. Essentially, just that understanding that any sort of path that you have, you can utilize to place type onto. So that, as of, that I know of, there's not really many restrictions to that. So, you know, you could even use that simple premise to be, you know, designing your whole layout based on paths that you're going to draw on. The one thing that I can note about that is when thinking about paths, it could be helpful to retain the original path itself or the original shape that you're using. So here's a good example. I'll just do this real quickly. Say I have this circle. I'm going to copy it right now. But as soon as I go to place some type on a path on that, you know, you lose the original circle, right? However, if you did copy that, at this point you could do a place, or a paste in place, and then simply just, send it back. And all of a sudden, that should be, exactly on that original shape. So similar to Photoshop, when I was saying, oh, like copy a whole layer, and then you have that, access to that layer to either turn back on or continue to modify. I don't believe I mentioned that the first time I covered on Monday. It's pretty obvious, but it's also something you might not think about. So that kind of goes with a lot of these elements. As you go along, you could always create more layers, put content on other layers and lock it. Okay, so we're gonna cover this blend. And the blend's it's a pretty simple tool, but it could be pretty fun. So why don't we all do this? Let's create a large letter, just one letter. And I'm gonna put it very large. And then I'm also going to change the typeface. Okay. Expand that. So object expand. So we have a shape. Go ahead and give it a color. And then, and again, we are on a new layer here, so you shouldn't have much on that layer. So we're gonna bring that, that letter just to like the top left, and we're gonna create a shape on the bottom right. So you guys can either use the pre-fabricated shapes here, or draw something with the pen really quick. I'm gonna use the star tool. And with the star tool, if you click and drag, you're just gonna get a default star. However, if you do a single click, you could choose like how many points, and specify how stubby the points are. These are lines. Avoid those. Got some nice scribbles there. And then I'm going to pathfind all this together. Oh, this is, so here's an example that I haven't covered either. If you guys ever have an instance where you have something like this that's just a path, right? There's no fill color because it's an open-ended piece. It's not an enclosed shape. You can still expand that. So object expand appearance. And now this is an actual shape with a fill color. So I can now pathfind all of those pieces together. So anyway, I just wanted you guys to have some kind of shape at the lower right and a letter that's converted into a shape at the top left. And having them 2 different colors could be nice for this example. And then once you have those 2 things, all we're going to use is this blend tool, which is really just clicking on one object and then clicking on another. So we click on one of each, and it's going to automatically create a blend. Now note that it will automatically have whatever preset was last used. So if you want to specify how it's creating this blend, you actually just double click on the tool itself, the blend tool. And as of the first one I did, it was pretty smooth, but you could actually do like a specified steps and how many steps. So this is a really interesting tool to play around with. Not only could you do something like this where it's 8 steps and you know exactly how many there are, you know, and then use each of these pieces in a different way. But what's pretty interesting is that you could do 1 step, and then it's literally a computer generated like rendition of both of those shapes, like a combination of both of those shapes. It's pretty weird to think about, right? Like if you had some kind of face, you know, some kind of like vectorized face and another different object, and you combine the 2. So right here, it's kind of a G, but it's also kind of not a G. So maybe I could do, you know, like 3 steps and repeat this pattern. And it's pretty close to a G there. Like you can pretty much, it's still a little hard. I'm gonna boost it up again, 5. There's something interesting I'll bring upon this as well. Okay, so there we go. See this, the second one here is pretty darn close to like a regular G. And obviously this is gonna be trial and error and playing around, but from this point on, there's a couple things I guess to note. First thing is each of these different pieces can be moved individually, and we can move them based on the anchor point, or just grabbing that whole shape and moving the shape. But you're really not getting a difference in how they are rendered, you know, like each piece is rendered. But you could do this just to get them more separated, right? And then another thing to note is that just like any other tool that we've used, if we don't have access, say the second one, I want to use that second object, right? Maybe I want to do this whole process just to get that out. Well, as of right now, I can't select it. It's like part of this blend. Does anybody know how I might be able to like break that apart? Any ideas?
What do you mean break that apart exactly?
How do I get that as an object? Aside, like outside of this blend tool.
Go back to text and format it there?
Nope. So just like, what was the process of transforming text into an object? See a lot of people like looking down and not really in this. You guys wanted to do this today.
Do you mean just like selecting just the G by itself?
Yeah, this newly created rendition of an object right here, I can't select it.
Oh, okay. Would you just like do something where you expand it?
That's it. Yep. Same thing that we've been doing for all of the other pieces. If we don't have direct access to them as vectors, we can just simply expand it. Yep. And so it'll be grouped. We can just ungroup that. And then this is its own object that I can regroup if I want. And it actually looks like this middle piece might be separate. You know, you can come in and modify things afterwards. Ungroup the heck out of this. Huh. This looks like a complete shape. But I can't select it. It's a little odd. Anywho, just wanted to go over like another way that you could be, you know, transforming type from just the base type, another way of playing around with it, right? Because in the guide, it doesn't really specify anything to do with type. It's just is using two different shapes to create like a, you know, blending one shape into another. But it's really, when I say shapes, I really mean like objects, right? And we could convert type into objects. So it's same process. It's just thinking in a little bit of a different way, right? We do have gradients to talk about. Gradients can be pretty powerful in Illustrator. I did a whole digital drawing based on the concept of gradients, so it can be pretty helpful.
How do you change the number of steps in the blend?
You double click the blend tool in the tool panel, and it'll give you what kind of spacing, and you can change it to steps and then how many. Yep. Oh, gradient. So I'm just going to slap down some more type here, and make I'm just going to make a single letter again and expand that so that we're kind of staying focused on different ways to utilize type. Right? And the gradient tool I mean, you could just create any kind of shape as well if you want. But the gradient tool is just in the panel here, it should be. And does that automatically open? Yeah, so if you double click the gradient tool, you automatically get the gradient window if it's not already open somewhere. And similar to Photoshop, you can just click and drag, but you do have to click on the shape once to like, you know, assign a gradient to that shape. And so once that's applied, you can drag the gradient from wherever you want. There is radial gradients as well. And I believe it was the introduction of Adobe CC. They, or could have been shortly after, they have created this freeform gradient. And freeform gradients are pretty sweet. They do take some time to understand. But before we get into those, maybe it's better just to talk about the simple linear gradient. So has everybody got like a shape with some gradient in it? Okay.
For me right now, it's just showing like a blue. Anytime I've got a red eye, and it'll just change the color to blue for some reason.
Is your gradient completely blue?
Like blue on both? Must be. I don't know how I.
Do you have this? Do you have the gradient panel open? The gradient tab.
Hello? Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So what colors does it have there?
It's. I have it on like a light blue. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's only one color on here, then it's. Can you even have one color? No, it has to be two colors. So, well, that's what I'm getting into next. Is that these little color blocks here? You can double click on them to change the color, and you have ability to like use an eyedropper, swatches, which I did cover before. Like you can make your own swatches, and then that could be available right there, or literally just RGB sliders. You can put transparency within that. So if you had, you know, a bunch of type back here in the background, and insert a placeholder, boom. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so I have like some text below my H object, and each of those different layers of color can be a different level of transparency. So not only can you have just two colors, but anywhere down there beside those, if you just hover your cursor over, you'll see like a little plus. You could create as many colors as you can fit in there. Oops, I didn't have my object selected, so there we go. And you could drag these colors out, right? So do you want it like equal spacing from one another? But then also the top, you get individual sliders, and that also references like how much gradation of each color gets on that gradient slider. Right, so like I could have no transparency on both sides, and then maybe my middle one has 50%. And so as you can see now, only the middle of that shape you can see through. Right, and like that's pretty quick a pretty quick feature to be able to tackle. Oh, okay. So continuing on from that, obviously then as well, we do have the radial gradient. And then, like I said before, the new freeform one. I haven't played a ton with it, but as you can kind of see, just like we had the slider over here in the gradient panel, we have the same features, but they're now out here in the actual object on the gradient itself. So you could be moving each of these colors around, as well as increasing the scale of them. You could double click on it to change the color opacity. So it's the same way as before. Let's see. So if I want to like get rid of that white, it looks like I could just click on that color and then hit the little trash can and it's gone. Or if I want to add a color, just anywhere inside the object, I could add another color. Right. There is another feature I thought. Let me see if I could figure it out. I haven't used it for a while. Is that why? I don't have a stroke right now, and I'm wondering if I need one for this example. So as you can also see then, I just toggled my stroke on as well. And then I applied the gradient to the stroke. I just made the stroke, you know, the point size of that stroke a lot larger. And then there's also these other sub options applying to stroke and like which ways do you want that stroke to be applied. I really like this like along the stroke feature. That's pretty complicated to like replicate that if you're not using this tool. But there was another one I thought that was, there was another feature. Let me try one more quick thing. So I made a shape, just a random shape like this before, and I'm pretty sure there was a different way of filling it. Yeah, and this is automatically. Maybe it was just the stroke that I was playing around with before. There are a couple other, you could find on YouTube some pretty in-depth guides on this, but for some reason I thought there was another simple to use way of similar to how I just expanded this gradient along a path, along a stroke. I thought there was a feature to do that along a shape as well, but I could have just been referring to, you know, the ability of using the free form. And, you know, as you kind of go through these different things, you could remind yourself that like, oh, we had that color guide that we were accessing before. So, you know, maybe I want this to be left complementary colors. So this one can be green. This one can be lighter. Is that even picking? No. Oops. Yeah. Let's see what happens if I apply this to the stroke as well. Oh, it's going to default. Son of a gun. Bummer. Bummer. Anywho, I'm just kind of doodling around. What time is it? We have time left. And how about this other more complex, oh, clipping mask, shoot. That's the one thing I was going to review today before class. Let's see if I can replicate it with my notes, because I haven't used this. I don't really ever use the clipping mask. Pick up the selection tool, draw a box around all the elements, plunge, group them, object group. Pick up a rectangle, draw a rectangle over. Selection tool, click on the new rectangle and then hold shift, click on group, create a clipping mask, go to object, clipping mask, make. Okay, let's see if I can do that. Layers, I'm gonna create a new layer. And I'm just gonna create a text box with a bunch of stuff, because that seemed to be helpful the last few times. And I'm gonna expand it so it's type. And ooh, it didn't expand. Expand. And it's already grouped by default. And then I'm going to put over top, as specified in the notes there, a rectangle. And in that, I'm going to, for just fun, going to put in a gradient. And we could do a mirror. Okay. Oh, I don't want this to be solid for this example. I don't know if this is actually going to work with a gradient. I'm just trying it out. So the example said to take that object that we created, right? So we have a box, and then hold Shift and select the other object. Well, the other object's below this. So in order to get both, and I'm not even sure if it's the right order or not yet, I'm just going to drag over both of everything, right? Select everything. And I forgot what menu option said. Object, clip, and mask make. So object, clipping mask, make. Did it apply? No, it didn't apply. So I'm going to undo, send to back, and try this a second time. The top object is very complex and may cause the document to fail. Do you want to make it a mask anyway? Let's give it a whirl. No, nothing. So back to the drawing board here. Go with something a little bit simpler again. Pizza. It's all of your favorite foods. Favorite food by all of you. Pizza. Okay. One more time. Select both. Clipping mask, make. I know this can be helpful if I can get it working. What a fail. The fail of the week. Bernard's fail of the week. The top object will mask out the bottom layer. Well, what if it's just one object? Can't get this to ungroup. Object, ungroup. J. It's going to mask the bottom. Okay, so I guess it's just based on how complex things are. I guess there's a limit. So let's try it with the pizza again and see if pizza is going to mess up or not. I think there might be something funky with the pizza. Don't eat the pizza, guys. There's something funky about it. Box again. Send it back. Select both. Object, clipping mask, make. Yeah, there's something funky with that. Let's make a new pizza. Pizza. make. This is all grouped. Maybe it's just too complex of a shape. Let me see if this does anything. Pathfind it. Won't make much of a difference, but so in this regard, how could I get this to replicate so that it would work for every letter? Because we're limited by the program's ability at processing this. Anybody have an idea?
Maybe you could make a mask for each individual letter. Like you could make individual objects out of the letters and then make a clipping mask for each letter on its own.
So yeah, but so when we do that though, so here look at, when we do this, we lose the gradient. So how could we keep the gradient? Anybody have an idea?
Because then you could, I don't know, make copies of the gradient for each time you want to do it.
Totally. So we just take this copy here, select the P that's above it. And this is command 7 apparently, right? Clipping mask make. So now all I have to do is paste, oops, paste in back and hold shift onto these, and then command 7 and paste in back, shift, command 7, right? Totally. This is what? Command B, shift, command 7, and B, shift. Yeah, totally.
Wait, what is it? What's happening when you press shift? Like I get the command B and command 7.
You just have to have both of those two objects selected. So I'm holding shift to like select the other object.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right, got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like going through this. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but going through this stage of like kind of running into a fail from time to time. So I'm not too bummed out that I didn't cover it before class, because you guys will run into a lot of stuff where you're going to mess up and like, oh, how do we have a solution for this problem? Because illustrators, you know, it's not like, it's pretty well evolved considering, you know, what it can do. It doesn't crash very often, but it does have limitations. So especially when you're using kind of Pathfinder elements. And so what's pretty neat now is like I have all these separate gradient pieces, you know. What if I do like, oh, whoa. Is it selecting a back? What is this? There's something here and I can't select it. Can't move it. Oh, maybe it's the, I see, I got it. Huh. So what if we just expand this first? Oh, ungroup. selecting that. Anyway, are you guys having fun? Are you doodling? Hoping you're all doodling away. I wish you guys had some more questions though, if you're having problems. So similar how we were just like doing a multiple step at trying to like mask something. We could go ahead and do this next step. So why don't you guys go to your layers, create another layer again, and hide the other stuff. And this layer, if you guys can follow along, because this would be kind of helpful. It's like another utilization of Pathfinder that we haven't went over. So if you take the text tool and just create a text box over the whole plane, and let's go for like, I don't know, just max it out 72 points maybe. And I'm gonna pick a font that has, it's really thick. So this looks pretty thick. There's only a regular though, but what else is thick? Impact. We have a bold here? No. Well, let's go with that. Okay, and let's do the same thing we've been doing. We'll expand that so it's now objects. Oh, wait, undo that. I forgot one thing that I wanted us to do first. Select all that type first, and we're going to align it slightly differently. So open your paragraph window. And if you don't have that, you can go to Window, Type, and Paragraph. And so under the paragraph window, we have the other options to like align center, align right. But these other ones here, this is probably a term you haven't yet used or heard of unless you have used any kind of type layout programs. And these allow you to justify the type, like span that type all the way evenly across the page or like across the text window. And you could do it so that the last line is normal, or you could do full justify. It looks like either way isn't changing it for me, but kind of like a paragraph with the last line that's normal or full justify. Sometimes that can make it look weird based on the difference between like the word spacing and the letter spacing. So then at that point, you can go back to character while it's selected and change your kerning, your tracking, right? And if you just hold up while you're in there, you can kind of see everything slowly starting to work itself towards each other. And it'll reorganize. Basically, this way you can get like very minimal word spacing. This is a really wide space. But there's a lot of other stuff too, like, you know, do you want to have hyphenation happen or not? I don't even know where hyphenation is actually. Oh, here, hyphenation, yeah. So anywho, Once you have some block type kind of expanded like so, we could just go ahead and take that now and expand it. Okay. And why don't we change the color on it just so we have something, we'll have it be a little easier to use. And then I'm just going to put a blanket box over all that as a different color. Okay. I think I might have shown this to you guys, but I don't think we walked through it, so that's why we're covering it. And then all we want to do is arrange this so that the box is behind the text. So you can either go up to Object and Arrange, or right-click and go to Arrange, and have that box be in the back. So once you have that, you just need to select everything. And we're going to open up Pathfinder. If you don't have that open, it's under Window. And this time we're going to, instead of Unify, we're going to minus front. And minusing front should allow that type to be cut out of your object. So whereas it didn't quite work for the masking process, it does work here. So, you know, I could even try to fill that box with a gradient first and then do the cutout, and it does work. So, you know, sometimes one thing won't work, but another thing will. It's just a matter of kind of troubleshooting what it is you're doing and having some versatility of what tools you have access to. Oh, this is actually doing something weird. Right, so it's not as smooth of a solution as I was hoping for, but that's okay. Actually, I have an idea. I take this and I rasterize it. I wonder if that'll allow me to cut it out still or not. No.
Why did just leave the L with that rasterize fixed?
I don't know, man. I don't make the rules. So it's not a clean process. Like, you know, maybe the masking would be better doing a longer process or something, but either way, we can see this cut out, and it might be a little hard to tell that it cut out because, you know, it's just white back there. So if you wanted to now, you should be able to just turn on one of your previous layers that you're working on, like part 1 maybe, right? Or any of the layers. You can see some of that stuff shining through. And then you could even take this front layer and, you know, maybe change the opacity. So even, you know, even just doing that, like placing, like using some kind of Pathfinder object on a top layer and cutting it out in some way and overlaying it on other layers, you know, playing with a little transparent. You know, this is just playing around. It doesn't really mean anything or look like anything, but the point here though is, like, I don't know what all you have, but this is kind of interesting to look at regardless, I would argue. You know, it doesn't specifically convey meaning though, like you guys are working towards for your projects. But this is kind of like, you know, the kind of caliber of experimentation you should be striving for, you know. And again, we just covered a few different tools in one guide, you know. So that's realistically all I was wanting to get through, was that little bit of extra stuff. And again, remember, you could always check out links on YouTube. Anybody have questions on this stuff? Did anybody not get through it? Did you have like an error happen or lost something or? Anybody have something cool they anybody want to share? Nobody wants to share. Okay, well, yeah, if nobody has any other questions, pretty much done for today. Copy. And then again, quiz next week on Wednesday. And yeah, Monday is just getting into a work session. So I'll be coming around and getting you guys going if you have any problems. I mean, realistically though, this weekend, you know, as you can kind of see from the first project, we do go fairly quickly once we get, you know, through the exercises, through lecture, video, all these different kind of primers. You know, once we get going and actually working with it, goes fairly quickly. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of, you know, the whole time you have from today till Monday, get a project started, and then, you know, you should have probably like a few different things you're running into as far as questions. And then you could put your money to good use and ask me questions. So yeah, if you guys don't have any questions now, you're good to go, and I'll see you on Monday. Yellow.
Get rid of all of it. Oh, I guess I could mention too, real quick, that if you don't have your sketches online,
on the Google Drive. Make sure you get them on there. For today's class, we're going to be breaking out into individual breakout groups. So you'll just need to share your screen of your sketch. So just have it on your computer in some fashion. Last class I had a few people just like holding up their sketchbook, but it's hard to see depending on connection as well. So pointing on the screen is going to be a lot better. Kind of hoping a couple more people are going to show up here late. Okay, no Dylan, no Zinni, no Alyssa. Oh, Alyssa's here, okay. Just trying to figure out who I'm missing. Okay, well, we'll get started here, I suppose. Everybody should have get their webcams up and running, so we could break out into groups, and then you can have a better dialogue. Plus, it helps when you to know who's talking and when. I'm just gonna set it to random. I'll be doing like 3 or 4 people, and did somebody just show up?
Oh yeah, I did. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're going to do breakout groups, and please just use your screen share to show your sketches. You don't necessarily need to get into, like I mentioned, the first project, all of the sketches. Realistically, maybe just focus in on the, few that you're leaning towards and your main concept. I will go over what I'm hoping you guys are going to cover, but just real quick, I do also want to note that next Wednesday is when you guys are set to have your next quiz. And hopefully everybody turned in their project 1 today. And on Monday, we were set to finish exercise 2. However, I'll note that I let the first class decide. We kind of had a poll and try to decide if you guys wanted to today work on exercise 2, finish that up, or traditionally on these group days, what I would have you guys do is present your projects to your groups, and then your groups, once everybody's went through theirs, all the groups come back, and then your your group mates will present to the rest of the class your project. And so in reality, it does give you a couple other learning points, I guess, or like ways of comprehension and delivering content. But the first class decided that they didn't want to do that. So I left it open to a vote, and I think there wasn't any people. There was like 14 or 15 people that all voted for the exercise. So, so seeing as you guys won't get as much feedback as traditionally, you want to really make sure that today, when you meet in groups, they're covering all these points. So I'll briefly just go to the project 2 page, and obviously, for sure, no matter what, everybody should get an understanding of like the political and technological components of the projects, right? And from then on out, you should be trying to understand, like comprehend the sketch, which will end up being, you know, evolved into a drawing. Can you get a sense of understanding all the different pieces of the concept with just the sketch, right? What components are being discussed about the sketch that are going to be conveying the idea, right? And so that's kind of retracing back on this role as the designer, asking questions like, who's the client, who's the viewer, right? What is it communicating? What does it mean? Why are you doing this, right? Why? And then the visual attitude should demonstrate, you know, like what kind of tone are you presenting this in? Are you presenting it in a way that you're very cheerful and happy and like, this is really great? Or are you presenting it in like a, you know, like which side of the political spectrum are you on, right? That kind of can be evoked depending on what type of visual attitude that you're associating with. Or maybe you're not picking a side, right? Maybe you're just being neutral. Is that sense of neutral being upheld? So there's all these kind of layers that we should be discussing. And really that main goal that I want you guys to realize is that this project, because we're focusing on that design element, the end drawing should represent itself. We shouldn't need to read the final statement to understand what's going on in the drawing. So I hope that is a good reminder or recap of everything that we're talking about here. Does anybody have any other follow-ups to that before we start these groups? No? Okay.
Actually, I do have a question.
Sure.
When we're all done like presenting to each other, should we just come back here when we're done or at a specific time or like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the last class, I gave everybody like 20 minutes for groups of like 3 or 4, which is kind of like 5 minutes a piece. Usually in the past when we met in person, that's like tons of time. But for some reason, like the digital factor kind of pushes some people a little bit further behind. That's why I re-mentioned that you shouldn't really be going over every single sketch. You should really just be going over the main ones you're really wanting to focus on. So yeah, I think I'll still do like groups of 3 or 4, so you have a fair amount of varying feedback. But then I think I'll give you guys like a half an hour. So if you guys end early, you guys can chat for a few minutes. You know, some of you, this might be the extent of your socializing these days. And or just come back at let's see, like 4:45. So yeah, make sure we get through everybody's, and then I'll pull you guys back. So I believe once I hit the button to like end the breakout, it'll give you guys like a 60-second time window to like, oh hey, come back to the class group. And through this process, I'll be jumping from group to group, kind of seeing how things are going. And you could basically just ignore me. I think it might give that annoying, like, this is being recorded dialogue, but just try to ignore me in there. I'll turn my camera off so it's not distracting. And obviously you could ask me questions while I'm in there if you have them, but really just want you guys to use each other as, sources of aid. So cool. Let me get this going here. Breakout rooms. No. Rooms. Oh, there it is. Okay. I was in full screen. I couldn't see the option. I also want to make sure, yep, you all should be able to share your screen as well. Breakout rooms not started. Why is this? Bear with me a minute. Oh, recreate. Okay. I never ended my first class, so I think it's a little finicky. Automatically 3 or 4, recreate. There we go. Okay. Yeah, and if somebody else hops in late to your room, just have them dive in wherever you're at, I guess. Okay. Should all get invites.
Yeah, that's it. All right, dope. So, so this is the first page of my sketches. My project outline idea was for Banned Books Week, which was actually this past week, I believe. I've seen a few different posters before advertising, hey, you should read banned books because of X, Y, and Z. So my technology for this is books, and the political part of it is that many governments and other political groups have censored books before because of discussion of racism, discussion of sexuality, things they don't like, any kind of that kind of stuff. So on this page, I have a few different ideas, I guess. I'm just gonna go right to, actually, oh, come on. Oh, I guess this is my second page of sketches. So again, my audience, I guess, is I'm trying to do like a kind of like a, you know, a poster advertisement for like a library, trying to get people to read banned books. I'm also advertising towards like the LGBTQ community, and also people of color and whatnot, because historically people of color have been, you know, censored much more than anyone else. And these are my final two sketches that I came up with, that I fleshed out a little bit more. So yeah. What I am also looking for is ways to fit text as images into mine. It's mostly right now, it's just images with, you know, standalone text on top of them or book titles, but I'm trying to find a way to like make text into images, like maybe like text being books rather than just being on books, or, you know, something like that. So, ta-da!
Yeah, I really like this idea. I've never heard of it, so this is kind of like a unique thing to me. So the fact that you're using using the opportunity for the project to talk about it is very cool.
Awesome, thanks.
I agree. I really like the banned book. I've heard of banned books, like banned book week, or reading banned books before, because like I've seen, like you said, a lot of people who the communities that are silenced over time, you know, now that we're in a time where they're more embraced than they were in the past, a lot of people want to read them. And I really like the idea where you're going with this. Who did you say your audience was?
Just of course, there's like always people, you know, just book files or whatever they're called, people who, you know, spend all the time in the library, but also like LGBTQ. I'm actually a member of the LGBT community. So it would have been awesome if I could like know, if I had known earlier on that, you know, there are literature and stuff with, you know, bisexual, I guess, characters in them and whatnot. That's where I got like the read about yourself thing. You can really, you know, figure out who you are by reading these books, but they were censored before. So it's important to read these kind of books and make sure that it doesn't happen again. So yes, that's my primary audience anyway.
I really like the idea behind it. I support this a lot. It's a very cool idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
Like it a lot too. It's very nice. I used to read a lot, but I watch a lot of movies, and I like banned movies a lot because I like the weird kind of cinema. And sometimes they have a lot of stuff to say that, you know, doesn't get heard. So it's pretty cool.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot of direct politics in this one. You know, because it did happen in the past. I mean, we have like censorship and whatnot, but there's no like, oh, this party is doing this, or, you know, this specific event has happened. In this one before, in a couple of these other ones, they were like more direct. Oh, hey, these are like, you know, government approved books. So, you know, but I think I'm going to decide on one of these two other sketches. Oops. So yeah, if there's no other comments or questions, I think I will ship it over to the next person.
I can go.
Okay.
Okay.
Shout out Bernard.
What's up?
I just said shout out to Bernard for sitting in the back.
Oh yeah, I was I'm also just the first class I was back and forth, but then I realized, oh, I'm technically recording this, so it'd be good to have, a little chunks of each group, more so. But I think, yeah, to your point, there was a few kind of like um, positive specific and some positive unspecific factors there, points. But yeah, nobody actually touched on your one question about text as image. So yeah, just kind of be aware of that as you go along. Like what are you guys kind of struggling with, and maybe try to lean that feedback toward that struggle. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
It's just gonna take a lot of like it's gonna show a lot of your creativity, like the way you're gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like that one better too. Anyways, so I think it'll just be a matter of like making it type heavy, kind of.
Yeah, maybe like you could form like a flag with like words and stuff and messages. Like
Yeah, that's
like the red and the white could be just like a message in red ink, a message in white ink, white.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to like do with it. So I'm just hoping it looks okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. But
I
yeah.
think, you can put like in the background for the image, like you could put like maybe reasons why people would want to vote, or you could
Yeah,
put
that
like,
would be good.
or
Yeah.
you could put like reasons why people couldn't vote in the past, like they were like too busy, or like they didn't have time, or like they were working, or like stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. Okay, I'm cool. I'm done.
I got you.
So who next?
I think that's Jackie.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Screen share. Hello, Zoom. More. I need to figure out how this works. That's how it works. So yeah, my screen's coming through, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So skipping to the ones. So my idea, it revolves around sort of or my topic sort of revolves around like spread of information and the misrepresentation of information, especially nowadays, where everything just seems to have like a agenda or bias or a narrative that seems to be being pushed, like being told one side of the story. So the two ideas I sort of like main ones, I guess. One of them would be sort of a tree, but but basically only like part of the tree is like really flourishing, and that part of the tree would like have the good thing, like what you want out of or like the true story, quote unquote, accurate information, non-biased stories, or representations of stories. And then as the tree like withers and dies, you start getting all like the false narratives, what arises out of like misinformation, like ignorance, or just I don't know. I didn't really narrow down what words I really want to use. But yeah, that's sort of a tree idea, I guess. And my other one, I wanted to. It would be a lot of really text heavy, but I would y'all know of like the images where it's like literally a word, but it's in the shape of an image.
Oh,
Yeah. So I was thinking of like basically making the outline of a fishbowl using the words echo chamber, and then inside the fishbowl I would have like all the negatives about what arises out of like having so many platforms like tell different stories and whatnot. So bias, ignorance, false narratives, and then outside of the echo chamber little picture, I would have like the words knowledge in the shape of a book, or I think I have education. I can't read my own handwriting, which is real something. Yeah, but education, perhaps in like in the shape of like a diploma or a scroll. Um, the word ideas in the shape of a light bulb. But the point is that they're all outside of this, like all these individual objects are outside of this like little echo chamber fishbowl.
Yeah.
I like that one, but my only just because I was looking at the requirements or whatever for the project, and cause this is confusing me too. But like he said, like to not, which I don't really know how, but like he said not to like do actual objects of the words, like, making images out of the words. Like that would be like my only issue is like I would like want you to not get any credit like for that. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't. Fair enough. That's something I would have to look at closer. Because that was because I didn't. That's definitely my fault for not looking into it too much.
Well, no, that's okay because I like that one. It's just like I don't like I wouldn't want it to like be like wrong. You know what I mean? But
Thank you.
I'm sure you could like figure out how to do it in another way too. Yeah. But I also like the tree. I think that's really creative.
Thank you. There's nothing else that could really be said. We can move on.
Can you just explain?
Sorry, I'm trying to look up the criteria of the assignment just to see, cause like, just to make sure that like what I say to like as my like this is my to like I'm stuttering so bad or struggling so bad. Like I'm trying to give you a more accurate critique. So I'm just looking at like the requirements because now that she brought it up, like there's certain things that we don't want with like the words and stuff. Just so I know, like
yeah, because like I was having a really hard time doing my sketches yesterday because like it's like I don't know. It just seems like so obvious to do an image out of text, but like also if that's like not what we're supposed to do then.
Yeah, there's also the manipulation of like the text, right? That was the point. Yeah. I mean, in that case, I there could definitely be some manipulation here, just not in like in addition to shape. There are like other aspects that I could mess around with. Also, Michael was saying something earlier.
I was just gonna ask if you could just explain the tree concept again.
So where like good information is, like source information, the tree would be like green, it would be blooming, and then as you go towards and then the branches that like have negative connotations associated with like misrepresenting information, or such as false narratives, bias, stuff like that, would have dead branches.
Okay.
So
I
it's
like
just
that.
yeah. So it's like, blooming versus just withering, dying.
Yeah, so I was just confused at what was at the top.
Yeah, that says that was supposed to say source information or source info.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, doesn't really come through here. I did give a free text that my sketching ability is a bit iffy. Yeah.
Nah, bro. When we get to mine, it's gonna look like the kid did them. But, all right, so I looked more into it, and it doesn't say. It says the text should not necessarily take the form of an object or recognizable visual element. Instead, the type forms should be treated as a visual object themselves. and arranged in a way that suggests a mood or attitude. So it technically it doesn't say that you can't do it the way you plan on doing it. So I feel like
Oh, hello.
Welcome.
Well, yeah, it was like just to show that people are on their like screens too often, and it's like eventually going to mess up our eyes. But I love my screen, so I don't know
Right.
what I'm gonna go with that
Which
one.
two were you thinking of? Like which ones were you thinking of most?
Most likely the hold on, I can't see it. The probably the third one and like the fourth one, potentially the first one. Also, Bernard, I we have an issue. So my laptop is in the main room, and can you just move that over to this room so I can have my camera on? If you mind?
Wait, what's up?
Okay, so the setup I have right now like doesn't have a webcam, so I just joined on my
Oh,
laptop.
that's fine. Oh yeah, that's cool. I just go through and remind people if they didn't. That's cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just like I'm saying because my laptop is in the main room, so if there was a way you can bring it into this room, just so I can have my camera on.
Oh, you have a second account, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think we're in what?
Room 3.
3. I think that's it.
Yep.
There we go.
I'm just gonna keep using this as a mic. Ooh,
yeah.
Like that. Yeah, most likely the first, third, and the fourth one. The first is definitely like I would have to really think about it because I thought about it like earlier and I was like, I'm not really feeling this. So
I have a suggestion for the hourglass one. You can have words, like just enlarge the hourglass and just have words trickling through to represent like different ideas or like different concepts for like what you're trying to present.
yeah, sure. Oh, just so because I didn't explain it. So the top half of the hourglass is sand and then it turns into chains. And I'm not sure where I was go. Well, I thought about it and it was like usually like when people waste time, it's basically like locking yourself into like a doom kind of fate thing, as weird as it sounds. Yeah, so it was like that's where I was going with that. And then like I stopped liking it. So I was just like, okay, we're on to the next one.
Maybe try, well, at least for me, like trying to combine the first and the fourth. Like if you do have like a rocket ship like blasting off to somewhere, like with the funding of something else, like criticizing that, like having like the actual planets be like different goals or something like that you could like try to attain, but how some of them may seem more promising than others. I don't know, and like have that instead.
That could work. That's a lot better than where I was going with it. So I'm most happy. I'm gonna write that down. And monitor turned off. Great. But yeah, that's really all I have.
Bernard, I had one question about mine, more or less.
Okay.
So I was thinking of trying to criticize like Tesla and stuff like that. And what I wanted to do was with this person try to add like a red reveal sort of thing where you can't really see anything meaningful until you hold up like a red filter over top of it. Would that be possible to do in Illustrator? Or like good for this project?
Is your mic muted, Bernard? Or
I don't think he thought the question was directed at
No.
Maybe.
Maybe. I can always ask again.
Okay. Because to be honest, I thought you were talking about like all of us. So
I mean, even that. Like, do you think that would be a?
I mean, it'd be pretty cool.
Decent.
Yep.
But you would have to find a way to like. Well, you don't have to find a creative way to tell people to use a red grass, but it would be like have.
If people know, they know.
Yeah, basically.
Just have a secret hidden meaning for people to figure it out.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
I think it would be cool.
You could also do like a gradient instead, so like people don't have to use a red glass. So it's like half it go like red to clear, and then like on the red half it displays the message, while on the clear half it doesn't.
Guys.
I'm in class.
Yeah, that could work.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Like just the advertisements of just nonsense and you can't filter it out. It's like they'll just display anything and want to like convince you on that, even though it may not be factual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of the news outlets are like massively biased in that area, so I think that could be effective. And then if you want to go to the other page, because those two are the ones I already showed you.
It's really sad that all of them have like some degree of bias to them. I mean, you can like look at a chart and find out which ones are like the least biased, but like still there's that tiny bit of bias.
Yeah, and they don't even have that many like media outlets that are allowed to like produce news and stuff, so it's like really limited.
Right.
The top one is like a journalist that's kind of in a cage. That's going to be like the bars are going to be censorship if I ended up going with that one, like words of censorship. And then the one on the right is going to be like a radio with like the face busted open, and like all of the lies of the government are going to be inside the radio. And then all of like what they say is going to be on the outside of the radio. And then the bottom one is like a mirror image of a radio from like the 90s when like the genocide was happening. And then a radio on the right side is going to be like a present day radio. And then the text on it and like coming out of it is going to be just kind of in reference to what was happening politically in Rwanda at those different times. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just a whole lot of radio. And that's my main technology.
Question.
Yes.
Do you guys have anybody left after this one?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. I've been strangely finding out that only some groups have restrictions to screen sharing.
Yeah.
And I heard you say something about go to the next one, and yours was one of the groups. I don't know why it does that,
I'm
but
sharing for her, and then
Theirs is available, but mine isn't for some reason. I don't know.
No, yeah, because so it's when I came in here and I went to the sharing options, it was set to only the host can share. But like you're all not the host, so I'm not really sure. But every other group, it's set to all participants, so I'm not really sure why it does that.
Maybe it's like something in my settings, possibly. I don't know.
I don't know, because right before I opened it up to everybody, I made sure that it was set to everyone. So anyway,
so weird.
I was just trying to see how you're at. Continue.
I'm pretty much done with like my idea. Just going over like my like secondary ideas, because we already showed like my main ones. But yeah, I think, well, I guess I have a question is, can we use like real images and then put text on them? Or does it all have to be like drawn images that we draw ourselves?
You can use images to some extent, but realistically, it won't have as high fidelity as like a raster image, because you're going to have to vectorize it. So, you know, is there a way you can vectorize it in and modify it so that it's, you know, more graphical? And then, yeah, is there like a way you can embed it with type, or somehow, you know, get the image to work for you within that sense of type? So yeah, you totally can use images. And that's one thing I might not have prefaced to this second class of today, but a lot of people tend to focus their sketches around visual content, right? Non-textual content. And that's fine. Like we haven't, a lot of people haven't worked with type before, but kind of like that theme structure that I have you guys go by, like, okay, come up with a project proposal, and then base all your sketches on that proposal. And then based on what proposal sketch you come up with, you can still like modify it towards utilizing type for that same kind of outline. It's just like figuring out ways that would abide by, whatever sketch you're choosing, So it's not like it's going to make it or break it for you by not using images or using them versus not. It's just it's going to be based on like what images are you really needing? How are they affecting the image, and like where can you embed them? So hopefully you'll figure out something else after we go over the other exercise parts today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna hop back and bring everybody back. I didn't even get to the last group, but that's okay.
Alrighty.
Soup.
What kind of soup is that?
Soup spoon. No, this is not a soup spoon. Actually, didn't even have a tablespoon. This is just a tiny little son of a gun. This is literally a can of soup. I busted it out. I haven't had a can of soup in like 4 or 5 months. I've been making all my meals, but as you might be able to tell from my poor appearance today, I'm probably not with the camera, but I'm dirty. I'm tired. Working on the house next door my buddy bought. So after this, I'm gonna go do more labor. I was anticipating finishing this, but then I had a couple of questions. So, is everybody back in here? Yeah, I think so. The rest of this tutorial isn't going to take long, so I'll give you guys a quick like bathroom break or something. I'll scarf the rest of this down, and then we can start it up. So yeah, if you want, you could just open up that same file we were working with from Monday, and you could just doodle around for a minute if you want.
All right, really quick question. Does anybody know how to make a monitor stop like turning on and off? Because I'm really dealing with that issue. It's been 2 days. So just, nah, I'll just awkwardly sit here and wait. No.
No, it's not
Wait, what was the
live.
question?
A monitor turning on and off is what you said?
Yeah, it's like every time I open like a different application on the monitor, it just turns off for like a good 2 seconds and then turns itself back on. And I'm like trying to fix it, and it's just not